I just thought with the way this case is shaping up, folks, we just don't know about what we think we know about. Let me bring in Tara Setmayer because Tara and I have great conversations about everything that goes on in the news. I know Tara's got thoughts on what's been taking place since just a little bit since Wednesday. And I was just, these young Gen Z kids, I worry so much about them, Tara, because their world is, let's just face it, is a giant shit show. And, I love, it says right here, do not pay in advance next to Tara's name. Perfect. But Charlie Kirk, he practiced a kind of politics. People were kind of lionizing him and saying, oh, he's all about free speech. He demonized a lot of people. Just absolutely. It was bad faith demonization kind of stuff. Not that, we've said
apparently we're not allowed to say that, Jim,
well,
because according to the mainstream media, well, we already know how the right feels, but like mainstream media and everyone else, they're lionizing him like he's Martin Luther King. And that's just not the case.
I think it's a Republican member of Congress who put out a tweet that compared him to Jesus or something. And I'm like, what
are we doing here?
I know.
It's so infuriating.
And listen, as we've all said a million times, like nothing justifies political violence. But again, this is something that we need to talk about, Tara, is like the facts are starting to come in about this young suspect. And I think we have to be careful. We just don't, it's like the old Rumsfeld thing. There are known knowns and known unknowns and unknown unknowns. Right. And they're starting to put the pieces of the puzzle together. And it's not a clear cut deal what he is, what's going on in his head.
No.
And I think it's a good reason to just be cautious and say, let's just get all the facts in. But it's certainly not what the right expected.
No, and this whole there's a bunch of things. First of all, it's good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you too. Oh, and happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. If anyone follows me on social media, they know that I just turned 50 on Tuesday. And so it was a big milestone. I'm a little weirded out by it, actually, because I'm like, I'm 50 years old. I'm like, I'm the same age my grandmother was when I was born, which is really weird.
I did just this too.
I know. What?
And in your mind, you're like, I still feel like I'm 20 or something.
Right. My knees don't feel like I'm 20, but neither do my eyes. But everything else, I'm like 50. It was really weird. But
it's a different 50 now.
Yeah, I guess. The Golden Girls were like 52 or something. I'm like, Jesus. My husband and I went to IHOP this morning, and he's like, do we get the senior discount now? I'm like, listen.
I know.
I'm not ready for it.
You can get your AARP card.
Apparently, they know because they sent my husband one when he turned 50. And I said, "Fuck that shit." Exactly. I said, "Get that out of here." No, AARP. What are we doing here?
I'll do that in like 25 years.
I know. I'm like, I can't. I'm weirded out. But I've spent the last 2 weeks in Europe. I just got back last night. My husband and I, because my wedding anniversary and my birthday are 4 days apart.
Yeah.
So we were in Sicily, and because I said, listen. That's where we got married, and I have lots of friends there. My grandmother is Sicilian, so I feel very connected to Sicily. Wonderful. And had the blessed opportunity to get married there in this 1,000-year-old Norman castle in 2013 called Castello di Cacamo. It's just it's crazy.
Wow.
It's beautiful, yeah. But anyway, so I said I'm not going to spend turning 50 in the States. I need a respite. I need a recharge. Good. I need to go to somewhere that makes me happy. Other than the down the shore in Jersey. It was either down the shore in Jersey or Sicily. Sicily won. So
good choice.
Yes. So for the last 2 weeks, I've been monitoring what's going on from over there and then trying to figure out how to get my citizenship just in case.
Not a bad idea.
I'm just kidding. But I got to tell you that when I saw what happened with Charlie Kirk on Wednesday, I just said, oh, my God, for all the reasons. Yes. It's tragic. It's no one ever wants to see political violence. It's just it's not the answer, no matter what. I happen to think that what Charlie Kirk espoused and believed was vile. The things that he says and the movement that he has created is a very dangerous one because he was able to go and cultivate a huge movement with the Gen Z. With the Gen Z and millennial Gen Zers now. I guess it's Gen Alpha is the one after that because he started to infiltrate high schools.
Totally.
And that ideology is dangerous. it isn't, it's not something that I would think in 2025 would have such popularity. But clearly he tapped into something that he's filling a void. And it was smart. You have to give him credit
I
for
agree. I wrote
what
about
he
this.
built,
Yep.
right? He
Absolutely.
was smart. He took Rush Limbaugh's template and said, that's what I'm going to do, but for young folks, because you
Yep.
have to build the team.
Correct.
You can't, and that's where you start. And he started that at like 18 years old. So he was very ambitious from the time he was quite young. But as someone who spent 27 years in the Republican Party, I was one of those young Republicans.
I remember you telling me this one time.
Yes, I'd been to the Republican, youth conventions, and I was the vice president of the GW College Republicans when I was at school at GW in the
Yeah.
early 90s. I mean, I lived in San Diego for the summer of 96. It was my first Republican convention, and I helped run the youth convention, because the Republicans would have
Wow.
like a simultaneous youth convention for 18 to 24-year-olds. So its own programming, own, speakers, and everything was like its own little mini convention within the convention. And
Yeah.
I worked on that when I was 20 years old.
Right.
I mean, I was fully entrenched in that. The first speaker that I brought to GW when I was part of the College Republicans came through the Young Americans for Freedom. Yeah. Right. Young Americans for Freedom. That was like the group that a lot of congressmen nowadays, back then, like in their 50s, 60s, 70s, oh, I guess older now, 60s and 70s, were part of YAF. YAF was like what Turning Point USA is today for back in the day. Like Barry Goldwater and like all of those folks, and a lot of the Reaganites came out of YAF. Now, it wasn't as radical as I would, well, I mean, maybe some things, but not quite like this.
This is much more radical.
This is much more radical. I mean, it's taking us back to a time like pre-civil rights and pre-women's rights, where, Charlie Kirk was espousing things about women, about them not being as attractive if they are on birth control, and once they hit their 30s, they're not in their prime years.
Yeah.
Talking about minorities. If you're flying on an airplane, you better check and see if your
pilot
is black. Like a lot of people forget the awful things that he said. He might have started off as like a Reagan Republican back in the day, but that's not what he turned into.
He learned that outrage sells.
Correct.
And it's sort of the old shock jock rule. It sells. It can create a movement, and you can make a lot of money doing it.
And he did. And he did. He built a juggernaut, and there's no equivalent on the other side. There is not. There is no equivalent. The Democrats, the left, have not kept up. And the pipeline now, this is something we have to be concerned about, because there's clearly a political void that the right has tapped into. And Charlie Kirk was one of the first people to kind of take the CPAC model and marry it with the shock jock, entertainment part of like what Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck were doing, and appealing to college-aged kids and now high schools. And I said, I'm like, what is the left doing? Because clearly there's this something going on here that's attracting all of these young people to what Charlie Kirk and what MAGA was spewing. And that should concern everybody.
And this is why Trump loved Charlie Kirk so much. But I mean, or at least said he did. I do want to play this. I don't know if you saw this clip of Trump. He was asked earlier today about how he's doing now, how he's coping with the loss of Charlie Kirk. And I want to play this and get your response, because it's an extraordinary moment.
How are you holding up over the last 3.5 years?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty. It'll be an absolutely magnificent structure. And as you see all the trucks, we just started. So it'll get done very nicely, and it'll be one of the best anywhere in the world, actually.
Thank you so much.
And then he walks away. I mean, Tara, I have to tell you, oh, yeah, we're back.
We're back. I was like, what happened? My screen went off, you went off.
No, I was going to say that I was, when I saw this, it said a couple of things. First of all, what the fuck? I mean, that's
I
just
know.
so
Well, that's
so
every day.
strange.
That's every day, though, Jim. The
Yeah.
guy is mentally unhinged. He's a
He's mentally,
malignant narcissist wacko, and
but
that's how people behave.
but
He's
it also
incapable of
says to
empathy.
me, the other thing, all of that, but it also says to me that maybe the right, MAGA, Fox, the White House, they did not get what they wanted
Right.
out of the capture of this suspect.
Yes.
They did not get this tool that they wanted to use to further divide this country, to keep whipping up hysteria and hatred on the far right. And so he's already ready to move on and talk about his goddamn ballroom.
I know.
It's
I
sick.
know. It's well, remember, he's the same guy that on 9/11 was talking about now his building down there in Wall Street is going to be the tallest building in Wall Street. You know what I mean? On 9/11, like either on the day or the next day.
Yeah,
he was
I
there.
remember
I think it was
that.
on the day, remember? And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Yeah.
First of all, he's a native New Yorker. Second of all, that's where your brain goes when you just witnessed the worst terrorist attack on American soil ever.
Yeah.
And the towers come down and you're over here talking about, well, I guess now I'm going to have the tallest building. And then he lied about sending his guys down there to help. And I mean, the guy is a sicko. And then he took like a tax break or something that was supposed to be used for businesses that were impacted by 9/11. Like I just can't. But yet, you know, but Joe Biden was old.
Right. Well, and also, I mean, you know, he just switches to talking about the ballroom. I mean,
because he's not wired like a well-adjusted, emotionally well-adjusted adult.
Yes.
He's not.
Yes.
And that's something that I cannot, it's still to this day blows my mind that so many Americans overlooked that. He's mentally ill. And this is not like, I don't understand how we can elect, this country can elect, taking the policies out of it. Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, George H.W. Bush, Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, and this guy. But they reject Hillary Clinton and Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
But this guy.
But he's okay. But
he's okay. A guy that doesn't have an ounce of empathy or an ounce of compassion or an ounce of anything that isn't his own self-centered bullshit. And this is who the American people want to lead us through tragedy.
And the other thing is 24 hours ago, he's talking about we need to beat the hell out of radical leftists. I mean, he was using very incendiary language and going after the left.
Of course.
And it seems to me the word has gotten to them that this is not clear cut, you know, ammunition to go after people on the left. And
I have been around, like I've said, a lot longer in politics than people realize.
Yeah.
And I've seen all kinds of things. And you know that I come from a law enforcement family, so I pay attention to how things are investigated and presented. And as a political communications person, how that information is communicated, I pay very close attention because words matter and framing and context matter when you're trying to control the narrative.
Yeah.
It was, from what I saw, like I said, I was overseas. I was in Sicily at the time, but I thankfully had Wi-Fi on my flight back. So I was able to watch CNN International, which was the only thing I could get. But I was watching those press conferences and I saw Trump's taped statement that he released in the immediate aftermath. And I thought to myself, okay, what they're doing, it doesn't matter whether this guy is, you know, MAGA, radical left, it doesn't matter, whatever, we don't know. He had no idea. They are going to set this narrative that it's the Democrats. It's the Democrats. Yeah. They sent out the memo.
They did it right away. They did it right away.
Immediately. Yeah. It wasn't even confirmed whether Charlie Kirk had survived or not. And immediately you had the Nancy Maces of the world, another unhinged, emotionally wacko person, go talking about, you know, Democrats, this is on them, they're murderers, and Elon Musk out there tweeting. It's like the bat signal went up. The MAGA signal went up with the talking points. Everybody got the same text and they started it immediately. And then that night, Trump irresponsibly from the Oval Office says what he says about, you know, going after radical leftists. And then, of course, taking all the words of those of us who are on the right side of history, who are rightfully calling out what we're seeing happening in this country to our democracy,
Yeah.
the dangers, the fascism, the lack of due process, the shitting on the Constitution, all of those things, and turns that around and to lay the foundation that we're the problem. So that when more, it's like the January 6th template. It's going to be
Yes.
wild. It's it's whitewashing what's actually going on. It's
Jesse
accused,
Waters was saying we're at war. That's
right?
that's
All
what he was saying on
the war
Fox.
analogies. It wasn't just him. It was Steve Bannon. It was
Yeah.
him. It was a bunch
Yeah.
of them. Again, part of the playbook to
Yeah.
get people primed to make the violence worse. Like he gets off on it in a weird way because he's
Yeah.
such a wuss. You know what I mean? He's such a wuss, and he's such a coward. But he gets
Yeah.
off on being around other people and other people's toughness and the warriors, the Department of War, and he's overcompensating for all kinds of things that he doesn't feel confident about. But
Yeah.
the fact that they also waited almost 48, it felt like 48 hours. It was like 30 hours before they actually released the video of the suspect.
Yeah.
Any other time, as soon as they got that video and there was a manhunt, it would have been released.
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
FBI
this has been so sloppy. I mean,
well,
Chris Rufo, this guy, this neoconservative, I don't know what to call him, but Manhattan something or other, and Steve Bannon, they're all going after Kash Patel right now. Kash Patel's in a lot of hot. Well, there was a New York Times story talking about Kash Patel that Glenn Thrush wrote.
Why is
And
anybody surprised, though, Jim?
I don't know why anybody is surprised. You put a podcaster in charge of the FBI. What the hell do you think is going to happen? No offense to podcasters.
Two podcasters. Right. No offense. Right. Two of them. Okay. Because
but I think you and I would run the FBI, honestly, better than Kash Patel and Dan Bongino.
Of course we would, because we actually care about their responsibility and the mission of what the FBI is supposed to do. And we're not the ones that are out here trying to just do what Donald Trump says. We're not minions of Donald Trump. Kash Patel wrote a freaking children's book where Donald Trump was the king. Okay, this is the wannabe loser guy that never was sat with the cool kids. That finally is like, yay, I have the FBI and I have a plane, and then when the shit hit the fan and it actually requires leadership and someone competent, you see his face. He didn't know what to do.
Deer in the headlights.
Deer in the headlights. And meanwhile, there's like real stuff going on, and they're firing the veteran agents. The institutional knowledge that's been lost from the FBI is really making our country unsafe, less safe. And they were out there. You could tell that the career agents, when they first did one of those press conferences, some of the stuff they were saying didn't make sense. And the first thing I said was, wait a minute, you guys admit that you have video so you can identify his face very clearly, but you're not going to show it to us because you're confident that your video surveillance is going to catch him, or whatever dumb shit that they said. And I said, this makes no sense. The only thing that makes sense is that they were told from on high, you are absolutely not to release this until we can wait. Let's wait a little while, because they didn't want independent people to go and find this kid and find the profile.
Well, and that's
find out that he's not a left-wing nutcase.
Yeah, and apparently the family, I mean, and and to the family's credit, they helped turn him in and everything, and he was brought into custody and so on. But to me, again, this whole episode is a cautionary tale of not jumping to conclusions. And of course, I mean, what I'm saying is just completely lost on anybody on the right who and people on Fox and Jesse Waters. They just want to weaponize this stuff immediately and see how much hatred they can drive up. But Tara, I know it's your 50th birthday. I don't want to, we got to save some energy because you're celebrating and stuff like that. But
no, listen, I appreciate it. This is my first on air since I've been back. I've only been back for like 12 hours. And I'm glad that it was with you and that we had a chance to talk about this a little bit, because I just think that we need to put it in perspective. We need to be honest about what's happening. It's terrible what happened to Charlie Kirk.
That's right.
No one deserves to lose their life over their political
100%.
beliefs. Like I said, as vile as I think his beliefs are, this is not the way to handle that. You handle it at the ballot box and you defeat them. but we also shouldn't be lionizing him and mainstreaming what he was doing and
Right.
making it seem as though he was just like I said, like a regular Reaganite kid back in the day, like we were,
I agree.
just talking about small government and strong national defense and the shining city on a hill. Like that's
Yeah.
not what Charlie Kirk was preaching and indoctrinating these young kids with. And now he's built this movement. It's becoming something dangerous, and we really just need to be honest about it, because we're in for some dark days ahead, because we don't have leadership at the top, and it's going to take all of us to have to try to lower the temperature here, but also stay true to what's actually going on here and not let them whitewash history.
Absolutely. And that's why we are so glad we have you on the case at the tender young age of 50. Tara Setmayer, great to see you. Happy birthday once again.
Thank you, my friend. See you soon.
See you soon. See you soon. Thanks so much. Tara bringing lots of wisdom, despite the fact she told me she was jet lagged and everything else. Let's bring in Joe Walsh. Joe is standing by. Joe, it's been too long. Great to see you, my man. How are you? I hope you're well. And I know you've had a tough week because you knew Charlie Kirk and knew him well.
I'll tell you, Jim, let me start out by saying I don't remember 50. Tara just turned 50. I don't remember 50. You're a kid, though. You're young. You remember.
No, I'm not. It's a lot of moisturizer. It's what it is. Good lighting.
This has been a weird week because, and I've said that Charlie Kirk was like a son to me. And he was. I met him when he was 16. He helped me go to Congress. I helped him start Turning Point USA back when it was something very different. I was his political mentor. He and I were political soulmates. And then, Jim, you know the story. Trump comes along. Charlie decided to be a big Trumper. I decided to be a never Trumper. So we've become estranged the last 5 to 6, 7 years, like a lot of families have.
That's right.
But then hearing about his killing this week, it just harkened all of that history back, and it made me sad how Trump has torn apart so many Republicans, so much of this coalition, that
It's
Charlie Kirk and I are on opposite sides. Who'd have thunk it?
Yeah. And I mean, and that's why I've been cautioning since Wednesday, and I'm throwing even more caution out there today to be careful about forming any hard and fast conclusions about this young man who apparently did this. We don't even know. He could have been to the right of Charlie Kirk, and there's a lot of speculation about that right now. We just don't know. Yes, was he critical of Charlie Kirk? It sounds like he was. Did he write something about fascist catch on one of the casings? It sounds like yes, he did. But there were some other things that were written, some online gaming references and so on, that just make this such a jumbled mess. Nobody knows what the hell to think. But we were just talking about this with Tara just a few moments ago, but it sounds as though Joe Trump doesn't know what to do with it, because when he was asked about it earlier today, he started talking about his ballroom. So it seems as though the right is at a loss as to how to play this, and they wanted to play with it.
Yeah, I think the information they've gotten privately has told them this is a lot more complicated. This is not some crazy left-wing transgender that they were all ready to pounce on. But Jim, you know this and I know this because your world is media. It almost doesn't matter because 3 months from now, 30 to 40% of the country, the Fox News watching part of the country, will never know the truth of what this guy was.
That's true.
It's already baked. I'm hearing from them today. It's already baked in. Which is so sad. Like the 2020 election was stolen. This guy will be a crazy lefty or a transgender, whatever. That's already baked in. That's what's so sad.
That is what's sad. And it speaks to some really huge problems that we have with this country. I mean, I was talking about this earlier, and I wrote a Substack, and part about this is when Jesse Waters goes out there and says, we're at war. What are you talking about? These are your fellow Americans you're talking about. It's sick. And he's on national television. I mean, he's on Fox. Matthew Dowd gets fired over at MSNBC. Maybe didn't make the best comment. Whatever. Jesse Waters can just say this crazy shit. he just gets away with it. It's just unreal. And that stuff's, you're absolutely right. It's just getting pumped out there every day and nonstop.
I've always wanted to ask you this question. In the political world, now I'm a Democrat, and I'm encouraging Democrats to fight fire with fire. In the media world, Jim, should clearly MSNBC and CNN have a certain standard and a bar that Fox News doesn't have? Should MSNBC and CNN say, screw it, we're going to go down to Fox News's level? You can say what Jesse Waters says, you can say whatever you want. I don't think they should, but
I don't know. I think part of it, Joe, is I think that's why people are gravitating to where we are, to independent media. They're just saying, I've had enough of this crap. And you've been around media circles for a long time. You've done so many of these kinds of interviews over the years. You know, you kind of know how, I mean, you do know how it works. And to me, I think the public is just fed up. And there's news that, you know, Skydance, Paramount, whatever you want to call it, they now want to buy Warner Brothers, and you know, and that media conglomerate is going to get bigger and bigger, and it might be under the leadership of some pretty conservative people. And I mean, what is happening to the media in this country? It's a subject to explore at a later date, but Joe, you're absolutely right. You've got 40% of the country getting spoon-fed information from the far right that I'm a little worried. Maybe the truth doesn't sink in, no matter what the facts are.
So I've said a bunch, Trump's greatest legacy is the destruction of truth. And what saddens me is Donald Trump has taught my former party, members of my former party, that you can lie and get away with it. You can lie and it'll benefit you. So over the years now, we're seeing other Republicans just openly lie like they never would have before. But they've seen their leader get away with it. He's never been held accountable. You're right. Your former network, cable news, Trump lies 1,000 times a day, and they don't even call him out on it anymore. So it's completely normalized now. Yeah,
and I do wonder. I mean, given your experience with Charlie Kirk, what is happening on the far right with young people? I was talking to a Gen Z influencer earlier on, and you know, it's kind of a mystery wrapped in a riddle, wrapped in an enigma. I mean, I don't know how to solve this issue, but you have, I mean, you look at the crowds that were there for Charlie Kirk the other day when this happened. That's another day that ends in Y for him. He does that all the time. What did you observe from Charlie that made him such a powerful influence and force on the right?
Well, he was always beyond his years. He was always brilliant politically and incredibly glib. And so then Trump came along and Charlie had a decision to make, like all of us did. Do we get on that train or do we hold to what we believe? And Charlie said, I'm going to get on that train. And here he is, a young guy. And we forget, Jim, he was 22 years old when Don Jr., during the 2016 campaign, grabbed him and said, run our campaign social media.
Right.
So Charlie and Jr. became best friends. Charlie was wined and dined by all of these wealthy Republicans. And he literally told me, I can't pull away from that.
And he got swept up in it. Yeah.
He got swept up in it. And then smartly, the Trump people used how glib he was. And it was all about confrontation and being provocative. That was no conversation he had the other day at that university. He's with a few thousand people. It's all about just, you know, catching viral moments and these glib. That's not what the country needs. I appreciate that Charlie got in front of other people, but not in that way.
Yeah, you're right. And there's been a lot of magical thinking about what he was doing, and it was sort of like, well, he was such a free speech activist, and he believed in being in the public square and so on. He also believed, and you're dead on about this, Joe, that he was also about trying to capture viral moments with kids that maybe he outwitted or outsmarted in some particular moment, turn it into a bite-sized clip, put it on social media, hope it goes viral, and then monetize it, make money off of it. You know, and this is the outrage machine that we're all living in right now. It's something that Spencer Cox was talking about earlier today.
And Charlie excelled at it because he went to college campuses. But no, all of this revisionist history the last couple of days, like, as you said, he was some free speech warrior bullcrap. Charlie didn't have conversations. These weren't even debates. These were just creating viral moments. And he was really, really good at it. There's a whole website out there of these moments where because his people would eliminate the parts where the college kids ate him up. So
Right, that's true.
yeah, so they would edit it to make it look like he's amazing.
Yeah.
But that's not what we need. That's what he did great at. And that's why, again, young men glommed onto Trump and Charlie, because it's all about being a bully and fighting people and knocking people down. And that's what Charlie was good at.
Yeah, a lot of that pro wrestling kind of
Yeah.
mixed martial arts, UFC. I mean, it's that style of politics that has been successful for that side of things.
Like Jim, Charlie Kirk got, and God, I wish he was around. I
Me
wish he
too.
was still
I know.
alive.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Charlie Kirk would not sit down with someone like you for 45 minutes on Substack Live and have a conversation.
Yeah.
That just wasn't his thing. And too many people on the right don't do that.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely, and they want to be in their bubble, and folks could say, well, we want to be in our bubble. But honestly, I'm not interested in having bad faith people on anymore. I've done that. You know what I mean? And I would much rather have conversations with folks like you. And I think I read the other day, Joe, you and I haven't spoken in a while, but that you decided to switch parties. Have you become a Democrat? Did I read that correctly? Or
Yes. Hey, Jim.
I almost passed out when I read it. I was like,
I still almost pass out when I think about it.
I covered you in Congress when you were a Tea Party guy.
Oh, and you used to beat me up, and I deserved it. From the Tea Party to the Democratic Party in 14 years. 3 months ago, Jim, I formally became a Democrat. I never would have thunk it. But again, it's simple. In my bones, I believe my former party's a threat to our founding principles. I want to help the Democratic Party get their act together so they can defeat the Republican Party. I want to recruit others to do what I did. Jeff Duncan, the lieutenant governor down in Georgia, a few weeks ago, he became a Democrat. So we're trying to recruit others to create a big tent. But yeah, Jim, it is crazy.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of folks say if Ronald Reagan were alive today, he might not be a Republican.
Yeah.
And I mean, John McCain, God rest his soul, I tell people all the time, he was one of my heroes. I thought John McCain was an extraordinary public figure, and folks will say, well, there was this thing about him and that thing about him. But when he went up there and did the thumb down moment to save Obamacare, he had all of those Republican senators scowling at him. That took a lot of guts. It took a lot of courage. We don't see any of that anymore.
I've wanted to ask you this. If McCain were still alive, would he never would have sold his soul to Trump.
No.
Would he still be a Republican?
That's a very good question. I think it would be like a Liz Cheney kind of situation, Adam Kinzinger, where he just would have been chased out of Congress. Tom Tillis, Jeff Flake. They've done it to so many of these guys now.
Yeah.
And do you think you'll run again? Maybe you've already said so, but I don't know.
No. People ask me that all the time. Yeah. They assume I became a Democrat to run. And my answer is I'd love to. I hope I can. But that's not why I became a Democrat. We'll see if the cards are right. I mean, I can't imagine I could win a Democratic primary right now, but we'll see.
Yeah, you're no Mom Donnie. I think that's fairly safe. But
we need a big tent.
You need a big tent. You do need and the Dems just need a tent right now. Actually, is what they need. They need to rebuild the tent. But Joe, great to see you, man.
Jim Acosta, love you. Have a great weekend, brother.
You too. Let's do it again soon. I'll look forward to your tequila tweets later. Okay.
You got it, man. Thanks.
Okay. Bye-bye. That's Joe Walsh. It had been a while, and I had read that Joe was close with Charlie Kirk, and I thought it would be important to hear from him in this moment. And I hope folks appreciate the nuance that I try to bring to the show, because I do think that there has been some revisionist history when it comes to Charlie Kirk. And that's not to say negative things or speak ill of the dead or the recently departed and so on. I'm not about that. I'm an old-fashioned guy. I don't believe in that. And I hesitate a little bit to even go down that road. But what is extremely important right now, I think, to go back and review where we've been over the last 72 hours is how it is important to wait for the facts to come in, that facts still matter. And in the immediate aftermath of Charlie Kirk being shot, there were all kinds of suppositions and assumptions and a jump to speculation and so on. And it turns out now this Tyler James Robinson, 22, of Washington, Utah, who was arrested on suspicion of aggravated murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and so on, that he's a bit of a mystery at this point, and we're still learning more about him. And I'm sure there are a lot of folks who are my age, and Tara and I were talking about, being in the 50 category now, and it's a little hard to swallow sometimes, and so on. But it is a strange and I think foreign concept to be thinking about somebody engraving on an unfired cartridge, "Hey, fascist, catch," and another message saying, "If you read this, you are gay, LMAO," laughing my ass off. And then messages cited by officials from this young man also included up arrow, right arrow, 3 down arrow symbols. Another engraving said, "Notices bulges, OWO, what's this?" I'm assuming if there are folks, absorbing this information as I'm saying it right now, they're probably saying to themselves what I'm saying, that this sounds like hieroglyphics or something. It just doesn't make any sense. And I think we need to hit the pause button and do a deep dive perhaps on what is going on online and what some of our young people, whether they're our kids or our grandkids, are doing on their screens until whatever hour it is in the morning. And, it was something that the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox, who I think was striking the right tone, was saying earlier today. Let's play a little bit of that. I know we're running a little over, but let's play it a little bit, and I'll wrap it up pretty quickly after that.
Or the beginning of a darker chapter in our history. Look, I mean, if you look at true political assassinations in this country of someone of this stature, this feels a lot like the late 60s, and having one so gruesomely displayed on camera in all of our hands and in all of our pockets. We are not wired as human beings biologically. Historically, we have not evolved in a way that we are capable of processing those types of violent imagery. And by the way, we've seen another one with a gruesome stabbing very recently that went viral. This is not good for us. It is not good to consume. Social media is a cancer on our society right now. And I would encourage people to log off, turn off, touch grass, hug a family member, go out and do good in your community. That is happening, and it's happening organically right now. I had a friend in a small city in Utah who said, we're getting together. The Republicans and Democrats in my little town are getting together to have a discussion last night, just to find a way to find their better angels. So yes, this could.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear is what I say to the governor of Utah, Spencer Cox. I think that those are exactly the right kind of comments. And I just want to, as we close out just a very difficult week, and as we're heading into the weekend, and if you're watching this over the weekend, thank you for watching this program, subscribing to this program, and so on. But spend a little time touching grass. Spend a little time offline. Spend a little time hugging a relative. Spend a little time thinking about something other than yet another crazy week in the news in America. And let's start thinking about whether we can somehow come to grips with what the governor was just saying a few moments ago, that what is happening online in our world right now is a cancer. It is a cancer. And our kids are swimming in it. They're immersed in it. They're doing God knows what online in these gaming worlds that we don't understand. And I don't want to sound like one of the olds here. I get that a lot of kids can have fun playing games. I grew up playing video games. I played Atari and all of those things growing up. There's no question about it. But there's something to be said for, we cannot just drown ourselves in online content, online garbage, online trash. And we better be damn sure we know what our kids are consuming in that world. It is not the world that exists when we go outside and touch grass. And I think it's something to think about. A lot of people formed some assumptions this week that were wrong. They were wrong. And it is probably asking too much for some of those folks who were calling for war and so on and saying we're at war. It's probably too much to ask that they do some deep thinking and contemplate. Perhaps maybe they got a little carried away. Maybe they got a little over their skis in the aftermath of something like this. We are still Americans. We are still one country. We need to have a little bit of faith in one another. Even if the guy in the Oval Office is totally disinterested in that, and I grant you that. But that doesn't mean the rest of us have to give up on what the governor was talking about. Reconnecting in a real human way, away from this other universe, this other world that exists online, which, as it turns out, not always good for us. Want to thank Joe Walsh, Tara Setmayer, Jack Cottrella. Really appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for watching all week. We did a lot of coverage on what took place in Utah. And thanks for everybody watching. I know a lot of people are watching, subscribing, and so on. Once again, thank you for supporting this program. It means a lot. Still reporting from Washington, I'm Jim Acosta. Have a good weekend.